an interaction between the roots so that the roots and the plant itself is benefited. Another really interesting thing is that once you put this on the landscape, one of the biggest things in our urban area is that we're creating all these non-porous surfaces that rain runs off of. So we collect all the nutrients and the chemicals and the waste products from our urban scene, and it runs down into our lakes and our streams and our oceans. If we start mulching, we're creating a biofilter, if you will, the biology that's living in the soil that's now going to eat up most of those synthetic organics and organic compositions that will now produce a porous surface that'll take the water that's coming off the urban hardscape, like you pointed out here, and use it wisely.
And that's important not just in our hot southwestern climate, but everywhere,
Every
right?
culture that puts concrete and asphalt on their landscapes, urban landscapes. That's why I call myself an anthropologist of the future, because we're designing strategies to live in urban environments so that it's more conducive to us and not kill ourselves.
I noticed that you're using the broken concrete as pathways over here.
Well, this is a good example. This gets thrown in the landfill just like the organic material, but interestingly enough, when we use broken concrete, it adds some places to grow, as you're seeing some of the thyme and varieties of herbs that are growing in it, but it also lets water penetrate.
So this actually acts as a mulch somewhat in this situation?
In desert climates, this or rock or anything else would allow you, because you don't have a lot of organic matter, it's an arid strategy that you then cover your trees with rocks or mulch. The moisture that's drawn up from the ground hits the bottom of the rocks and then dissipates back into the root system.
So there are benefits to be realized by rock mulches also?
Yes, that's very true. Over here, John, you see we've set up comfrey beds that are mulching themselves. They're underneath the comfrey beds. They die and mulch themselves naturally. But what I want to show you here is this was subsoil clay a year and a half ago, and we did a bunch of sheet mulching, and look at the soil now.
Now explain sheet mulching again for us.
Sheet mulching is, this is about 4 to 6 feet of all the grass clippings that you see on the side of the hill, the tree mulch that you've seen. We added manure. We just basically took a truck and laid the material down on the landscape, 2 to 4 to 5 inches on the soil, and then we came in with some chipped mulch, and then we came in with some old manure that we found over at the Cow Poly stables, and then we came in with some more grass, and we built
whatever you could get
my hands on in the largest volumes I could do, because under this is a blue clay that.
Bill, I went to school here at Cal Poly, and I know what that clay is all about. You could just about make pottery from it.
Oh, in fact, I told the people when they gave me this land to do something, I said we should have built the buildings out of the clay and then used the material. And so this is a 2-year experiment. We grew some vetches and some clovers on it, and now, as you can see, roots can go into it.
Well, you would not have been able to do this. I can guarantee you that. Just put your hands right in.
Here's.
We're sort of not mulched. Look at this.
Yeah, this has been a little bit mulched, but you can see the difference. This is, you can't even get your shovel into it where I can get my shovel. And this is all sheet mulching, which is another form of composting. It's a cooler composting than the aerobic hot composting, but then we'll cover this once we plant it, and you can go up here and look. We've covered the plants that are growing. So we then cover it like you started off with walking in the introduction with. This is the stuff that people then would dress around, like put clothes on a plant that will have growing here. And now we have water retention, soil modulation, and homes for microbes all within your hand's throw of mulch.
So how often are we going to have to put more mulch down? Is there a formula for that?
You never outlive your need for mulch. And the idea is that if you put it down 2 to 6 inches, in 3 months, it's going to be eaten up and provide the fodder, if you will, for the microorganisms that are feeding your plants. So every 6 months or twice a year is adequate if you put 4 to 6 inches on. And you'll find that it disappears, and you're asking, where does the mulch go? Now, each climate and each area has differences. In the rainy areas in the United States where it gets moisture in the summertime, the compost will break down quick, or the mulch will break down quicker, because water is the lifeblood of this decomposition process. And by mulching, I'm saying we're inviting us into a whole world of decomposers, and more water is like not the gasoline but the lifeblood. In the southern areas, we'll see composting going on slower in the summer because there's not as much moisture in the area. So that it has a lot to do with the combinations of things to how much mulch you'd put on.
You know, I hear a little bit about, quote, designer mulches, you know, rice hulls, cocoa shells, things of that nature.
They break down very, very, very slowly, and so they are more...
I like the idea of a chocolate landscape.
Right. Chocolate landscape. You know, I should use that in my landscape. That's a good idea. They are designer mulches in the sense that most of the rice hull people, or the rice growers, they don't know what to do with their hulls. They also don't know what to do with the rice straw, so we're starting to build straw bale houses out of it. So the idea is that we want to find new ways to restore the environment, and that's one of them.
And then maybe find local sources. If we've got to ship cocoa hulls to Southern California, it doesn't make as much sense as, say, using that where cocoa processing is going on.
You hit the key on that. That's the sustainability, the local use of resources, indigenous materials. When you bring the production, the consumption, and the waste recycling together, it's almost a prayer for the future, that you make things, what you produce and what you use and what you recycle, bring together in a way that makes a statement about your own self-reliance. And what around us here, I've used tires and riprap and material that goes, instead of going to the landfill above me, I send the trucks here and use it as the bank account for the future. And that's the key issue here. And you hit it, I mean, I want to underline it. What you said is probably the ethic of the future that we need to begin with. John, we talked about sheet mulching a little bit, and you were asking me about what to do about it. Here, we did sheet mulch with straw, but in a little area that didn't get sheet mulch was a fertile base for other grasses, and you were telling me this is what?
Right, now here we've got a noxious perennial grass. This is kikuya grass. And it is pretty aggressive.
Yeah, what we want to do, let's open this up and you can take a look. Look at the bugs and all the microorganisms, macroorganisms. We couldn't see the microorganisms.
Now, a grass of this nature, this is a grass that any little piece of it will grow. So if we leave this, there you go, there's worms.
Worms, we got that.
So we got good guys in there, but we also got bad guys, right?
Yeah, they're living, right. Well, the bad guys, they don't know the difference between these roots. I mean, they like them. They're just, what we want to do is pull this grass away for many of us. Make sure you get as much of the grass out as you can. Open this up, and you know what I have? I have today's newspaper that I thought I'd put to some good use. Just take the Times here, lay it across. This makes good news, bad news into good news by being able to put it down here. And we can then mulch a little bit of the straw on top of it.
Yeah, wait a minute. Let's get the OJ section in
here.
Oh,
the OJ section. Okay, we'll put that on. And we can do it. Or we can have cardboard. We can take cardboard. Now, we'd probably take this off. And instead of the kikuyu, I'd probably put away and let compost for a while. But this stuff that I weeded...
Right, this is just an annual grass.
It's an annual ryegrass. You can just put it with the soil right on top of it.
Now here's our drip emitter.
Right, the drip emitter. And the bag that I used for my groceries last week. But it can be 2 to 4 inches thick, and what you're doing right now is really good that we've layered it a little bit so we have some other organic matter within it. And then I brought some other material that I just cleaned up from the garden that was going, and we can just then put this in and we'll move it around so that you won't even see it. And interestingly enough, we have peppers and things that we harvested from the garden. Who knows, you may
even get a free tomato out of the deal.
Free tomato out of it. And we take the straw, put it around. Now, most of us would not even know that we mulched in this situation because we've now taken cardboard, paper, and the weeds that we'd thrown away, put it around this tangerine, and next year, as I keep emphasizing the IRA, next year this tangerine will produce something that you and I can have some good food.
So our direct benefits here, weed control, reducing the soil temperature, conserving moisture.
Conserving resources, recycling resources, and the ability to have the sort of Dionysian, in Greek terms and Bacchus's ideas, they celebrated nature for the benefits of nature. We've sort of changed in our society that as being sort of an obsession with frivolity, but who would not want to dress in flowers and dance around trees and have a good time, as opposed to what sometimes we have to do is drive the freeways and be involved
maybe
in a stressful life.
Instead of Super Bowl Sunday, we'd have like Mulching Sunday, and we'd all go outside and mulch our gardens.
I would like to see that. I'm not sure the advertisers would pay for that, but Mother Nature would pay for it.
Well, I think those advertisers are in here somewhere.
They are. They're in the mulch.
Well, thanks, Bill. We've learned a lot about mulch today.
Oh, great. I've enjoyed it, too. Thank you.
You know, the thing that impressed me the most about today's show is just how easy and simple mulching really is. If you take something from the earth, you got to give it back. And mulching, that's what it's really all about. I'm John Greenlee for The New Garden. We'll see you next week.
For a VHS copy of today's program, call 800-555-3484 or send $24.95 to The New Garden, P.O. Box 6121, San Antonio, Texas 78209. For more information about The New Garden, subscribe to The New Garden Journal. To order, call 800-555-3484 or send $20.50 to The New Garden, P.O. Box 6121, San Antonio, Texas 78209.